could talk about games played by Ryan and Mike. A modern, a retro video game show. Yes, we talk about games and sometimes other stuff like Star Trek. It's a blast, our gaming podcast.
Hello and welcome to another Talk About Games. I'm Ryan and I'm here with Mike. What are we talking about today?
Ryan introduces me now. I like that better. You're like, you just say my name for me. That's
no,
good.
I just what I wanted to do is we're going for like The Simpsons now.
Yeah.
Where it's like every time it's different.
Every time it's different. Oh, like Bart writing on the board.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
What are we talking about? What are we doing today?
So today we're talking about Smash TV.
That's what I have, yes.
And Despot's game.
Okay. Well, I can talk about Smash TV. Let's
Yeah?
talk about Smash TV.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. So Smash TV was not a game I grew up with, really. I knew it was out back then. I'd heard of it and all that. And I guess I'm getting older because I was streaming this the other day, Smash TV, and somebody in my chat said to me, they said, "Hey, Mike, did you know?" Because I was playing the Super Nintendo version.
Yes.
They said, "Hey, Mike, did you know that you can use that this game is on NES?" And I was like, "No, it's not."
Yeah.
And they're, hang on, and I'm like, "No, it's not." And they're like, "Yeah, it is." I'm like, "Is it though, or is it some kind of hack or something?" And they're like, "No, it's on NES." I'm like, "What?" So I look it up. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've seen that box." I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot."
Right.
I was like, "I forgot." That's right, it is on NES. Totally seen that box before. I was like, "Oh," and I actually have a copy like right here. Oops, sorry. And then they're like, "But Mike, that wasn't all. Did you know that game you can use?" Because I was playing it on Super Nintendo and I was playing it just with the Super Nintendo controller.
Right.
And I was talking about how it's originally a twin stick game and all that stuff. And, you can't play it that way on Super Nintendo. And they're like, "But, Mike, on the NES, you can use 2 NES controllers." And I'm like, "No, how would that even work?" Because, what would you do? Take 2 NES Advantages, which the NES Advantage has 2 cords on it if you want to plug it into the NES, and the NES has the 2 ports, 1-player, 2-player. And I was like, well, if you wanted to do that, you would need what are you going to do? Plug 2 NES Advantages into a 4-score? I was like, I don't know, I think you're wrong. And the guy's like, "No, you can. You just plug in 2 NES controllers and then you hold them vertically and you can do it." I'm like, really? So I turn off the Super Nintendo version. I put in the NES version.
Okay.
And I try. I plug the 2 controllers in, and I do it. And there I am. I'm holding. You got one NES controller, the other NES controller with the D-pads on the top where your thumbs are, and you can move around, and it's great, and it works fucking awesome. And I said, this is amazing that in 2021, I'm still finding interesting things about the NES that I never knew about. And then they said, but Mike, I'm like, what now? But Mike, you did a video on this 8 years ago. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm like, did I? And they're like, yeah, with you and James and Pat.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? So I go and I look, and there I am. And I see myself with the 2 controllers like this from 7-8 years ago. And I'm like,
that's terrifying.
I'm like, I didn't remember that the game existed.
Yeah.
Didn't remember that I didn't remember that I shot a video on it. I didn't remember any of it. So if we're still doing the show in a year, it'll be a miracle. Because I'm like, it was scary.
Yeah, you're like, do I need to get checked or what's happening? My Smash TV experience was pretty similar. When I was a kid, I always rented the Super Nintendo version. The Super Nintendo, as far as the 16-bit, 8-bit consoles, has the perfect layout because it has the D-pad, and then the A, B, X, Y are in a D-pad-like shape. So you can kind of...
On which one? I'm sorry.
Super Nintendo.
On Super Nintendo, yeah, right.
Right? I knew the NES game existed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm not as far gone as you. No, I'm kidding.
Uh-huh.
I knew the NES game existed, but I thought that you ran around like Super C. I didn't imagine
what it was like.
What it was like, because I had never played it, although I do own it also.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But then we were just having dinner before we shot, and you go and you say, yeah, and there's a Genesis version too.
There is.
And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
How's that happen?
So originally, it's the arcade game.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's twin stick.
Twin stick. Like Robotron 2084.
Yes.
Okay. So there's that. Then you have a NES version, a Super Nintendo version, and a Genesis version. I played through, some of the NES version, and the NES version it's okay. But so in Smash TV, you go from sort of like room to room to room. You're in a room, you shoot a bunch of guys, you get some prizes, and then you move to the next room, do the same thing until you eventually get to a boss. That's pretty much what you're doing. But the NES game, what I found was the rooms kind of go on too long.
Okay.
Like you're just shooting guys in this room and it's just like, get me to the next room. And it's like 7 minutes later, 9 minutes later, it's like you're still in the same room. And then finally you get to the next room and then that room's even longer.
Wow.
And it's just like, it's too drawn out.
Yeah.
Because I think they were trying to, get you your money's worth kind of because you have it on a console and you're going to own the game. That's like kind of what they did with Akari Warriors. Where and I know that's a bad game and everything, but like each level of Akari Warriors like goes on way too long, I think that was a problem back then with NES games. They were trying to like stretch them out longer than they needed to be. Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta talk about Akari Warriors for 1 second, one comment, because I don't want to miss the thought. When you're a kid and you play NES games, your friend's got the box, you got 6 NES games in it. Whatever. My friend's box had Akari Warriors 2 in it.
Better game.
And when you're a kid, you don't know. You assume that like the developers knew what they were doing, that games are good for the most part. And I'm playing Contra, I'm playing Mario 3.
In the 80s, we were like a deer in the headlights. We had no fucking idea of any of this.
Right.
The stuff that we talk about on this show, man, I wish my 10-year-old self could watch this show because I would this show would blow my fucking mind as a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like the things that we know now compared to, because we didn't know. We had no idea any of this stuff.
So I'm playing Akari Warriors 2, and the shop, when you go in the shop, it's like, it says something. There's like voice synth. Or in like when you start, it's like, let's go or whatever. Right? Bath time! Yeah.
Yeah, all that.
Right? I'm playing that game. And I can't get anywhere in it as a kid. But it's so fucking cool because it's talking and it's doing this and I'm shooting guns and throwing grenades and I'm like psyched about it. But like as a kid, I couldn't grasp the fact that like what was wrong with the game. Right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking back to like,
I think as a kid, you're also a little less critical,
right?
Because things when you're a kid are new to you, so you don't have as much stuff to compare it to because you haven't had the experience prior,
right?
So you're a little less. I think you're naturally less critical as a child, but then as you get older and have more experience and play more things, you can compare one thing to the other and say, oh, this game is like this game, but the other one is better because of this reason. And then you get to our age and we're cranky old fucking misers. Like we're like Scrooge McDuck, you know. I hate Christmas, fucking the Grinch, or whatever.
But my experience with Smash TV makes me think back to if I had bought my experience with Akari Warriors 2 makes me think back to if instead of renting or having in the box Akari Warriors 2, if Smash TV was in there and I'm a kid and I don't have the manual, I don't have any context, I just have the rental box, the clear box and like the page is like ripped off. They put like the instructions on the back. It's like ripped off and it says like West Coast Video on it. Yeah. And I stick that fucker in my NES and I hit play and I don't know that it needs 2 controllers.
Well, I think you could also play it normally, the NES version. Yeah. Like you didn't have to. That was an option. Because you can change the option on the NES version to 2 controllers.
Pop quiz. You ready?
Okay.
Oh, relevant. The NES, the one I got, was the action set.
Okay.
2 controllers, Zapper, Mario Duck Hunt. Right? I know there was like
that was probably the one I had too.
A regular one. There was like the one that originally came out, the big set. Rob the Robot, all that.
I I had Rob the Robot, but I got it separately, like later.
Okay. I know there was one, and this is the pop quiz part because I don't know the answer. This is like, I'm hoping you do. NES. Did they ever sell an NES where it was just one controller and the control deck?
I just one controller.
I know the answer.
Yeah.
The NES 2 only had one dog bone in it.
Oh, you mean, well...
I'm talking, but I'm talking
wait.
base control deck.
Well, wait, though. I think there probably was... I think there was one that was just the control deck. I don't know if it had one or two controllers, but but you mean without Rob and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Just
think,
literally...
I think so. And then on top of that, also, there was like the top loader...
Which only had one dog bone, and then you had to buy the second dog bone. But did they ever have? I love control deck, by the way, because that's what it says, control deck
instead of just NES,
NES or whatever,
or as they say in other countries, the NES, because there's totally a Z in Nintendo Entertainment System.
They say NES.
I don't want to talk about it.
We'll just good for you guys. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm wondering if there was like a regular, front loading push down Nintendo that was no packing game, just one controller.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I gotta look that up now.
I think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I think the version I got, was probably the same one.
Yeah.
Because I think I know I had Duck Hunt.
Yeah.
And I don't know that mine had Track and Field. I think it was Mario Duck Hunt. That
one.
I
didn't have the Power Pad one. I've never had a Power Pad.
I had the Power Pad when I was a kid too.
Wow.
And I had all the. I was.
Well, you had
spoiled.
the Rob and the Power Pad.
I was very spoiled.
Wow.
I was a very spoiled kid.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Smash TV though.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So you asked about the Genesis version.
Yes.
And so, like I said, so the NES version, there was an option to where you could hold the two NES controllers, have the D-pads on top. It works great, by the way. It's really fun, and I wish that the Super Nintendo version
Joy-Cons.
you could... don't get me started. Because the NES actually has a real D-pad.
Yeah.
So the Genesis... So... I have to get this right because the NES version, you have the two NES controllers with the D-pads on the top, works great, and it's a shame that the game itself for NES isn't a little better because it's really fun to control that way.
Yeah.
And I wish the Super Nintendo version was like that, but the Genesis version is also like that. But the Genesis controllers are not shaped like the NES controller. So when you hold the Genesis controllers like that, they don't fit. It works fine, I think, in your left hand with your D-pad, but the way you hold the Genesis controller, if I wish I had one here, but if you hold it like that, it doesn't hold in your hand right. So what you have to do is you have the one Genesis controller in your hand, and then the other Genesis controller, you gotta put it on your leg, and you're controlling it kind of like this. It's not right. The game itself is okay. Like, they did a good job with the game, but the twin stick controls are much to be desired.
I got a controller that you can use for the Genesis version.
Okay.
So the Ascii Turbo Pad, have you ever seen it? It's 6 button.
I have one for PlayStation.
The Ascii made a 6-button Turbo Pad.
Mm-hmm.
And what the 6-button Turbo Pad was really good for was it's thin. It's way thinner than a regular Genesis controller. So, as a kid with smaller hands, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my controller of choice for Genesis. I think if you were holding it, its D-pad is also a little more like an NES D-pad. Not all the way. It's still Genesis style, but it's more close to an NES style D-pad.
Right. So, anyway, I guess where we're going with this is kind of which is the version to play.
Super Nintendo.
Probably the version to play is to go to an arcade and play this fucking arcade machine.
Right.
Probably. But as far as ones you're able to play at home or whatnot, probably Super Nintendo version. What I want to happen is I want one of these hack people to do a hacked version of the Super Nintendo Smash TV and hack it to where you can do two SNES controllers. then you'd have probably the best console version, unless somebody made a new one.
Right.
And that's another point I was going to bring up, is they're always bringing back these old games, like the new Turtles game or whatever. Like, you're bringing back all this old stuff. New Smash TV would be cool.
Right.
I like that. Who knows who owns it now or whatever? I don't know. But that could be because now that you can actually use control sticks.
Yes.
Like, I guess there was never a Smash TV that came out like later where you could use control sticks. For PS3 or something, somebody could have done a Smash TV and then it would have worked better.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Twin stick games changed drastically in the analog or control stick era.
Because you're gonna go from 8-way to every way.
8-way to 360 or whatever. So I think back to, Xbox 360 comes out. And then, prior to Xbox 360, we really looked at games as being like full retail releases. There's no concept of like digital releases until you get to like Xbox 360 with Xbox Arcade.
Live, yeah.
Live
arcade, yeah.
And one of the early games for that was Advance Wars. And Advance Wars...
See, I thought of that more as like a SP game or something.
Sure. But Advance Wars...
But it was on there.
It was on there. It was one of the first Xbox Live Arcade games.
Okay.
And Advance Wars... it might have even been like a launch title. Like, it was very close to the beginning.
I had a lot of those Xbox Live Arcade. I liked that back then. I remember playing like, they had like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade.
Yeah, like the Konami.
And stuff like that on there. And I think the Simpsons arcade game was on there at one point.
And they got delisted. And, that's a topic that we want to talk about, delisted games.
And I remember they also had the Namco games on there, which
Soul
is
Calibur.
Yet another time where they're releasing, the Pac-Man games and all that. And probably, I wonder if they did miss Pac-Man because the whole like rights thing where Namco will release for the 18 millionth time Pac-Man and Super Pac-Man, but they don't do Junior Pac-Man or Super Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Because like there's like rights problems and all that. Anyway.
Funny story. Mike says this is why you're getting two different perspectives on this show.
Yeah. Because
Mike says Namco games, and I'm like, yeah, like Soul Calibur, right? And Dragon Ball Z Fighters and other Namco games like that. Tales of Arise, Namco games.
That's why I need to have Ryan here.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, but would you argue though that if anything is Namco, isn't it Pac-Man?
Yes, absolutely. And they would agree with you.
Right.
I mean,
Pac-Man is Namco.
Yeah. 100%.
More than anything else. Now, Soul Calibur might be the fucking greatest game ever, and you might love Soul Calibur a lot more than Pac-Man, but Namco is still Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And it'll always be Pac-Man. It's like Nintendo. Let's say Nintendo came out with a new thing that was bigger than Pokemon and bigger than Mario. Right. But Nintendo will always be Mario.
Yes.
Always.
Disney will always
be Mickey Mouse. Exactly. So,
yeah.
It's like that.
You can't escape it.
So, Smash TV. So basically, let's talk about. I haven't even talked about the game yet. So the one I played was the Super Nintendo version, and like I said, same thing. You go from room to room. I do think console-wise, as stuff that exists, the best one that exists, in my opinion at least, is the Super Nintendo version. Graphics are well done, whatever, and it's not twin stick, but it's just sort of the best version that we have. You like I said, you move from room to room. It's a parody on, game shows. And I think, Richard Dawson from Family Feud, the original host, I think he makes an appearance in the Running Man movie. And I like that they sort of did that because, the whole idea of Smash TV is that it's like this, futuristic game show, but now you're like killing people. Yeah. I guess killing people, maybe not for real. I don't know.
It's definitely for real.
But
you killed them for that toaster,
right?
Yeah.
But there's like you want the toaster and the prizes, but you're like you're shooting people and whatever.
Right.
But then there's also monsters. It's just crazy arcade stuff. But the thing I really want to talk about beyond the controls and all that, the reason I brought this game to the show is because of a particular boss.
Okay.
So you fight the first boss, you get to, it's like this guy on, you get this guy, I just had another thought. There's this guy on a tank, and I think I saw this game like in Super Nintendo magazine or something when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I realized the first boss of Smash TV is probably where the visual concept for Super Mecha Death Christ came from. And I never realized it until I was playing recently. I was like, oh,
Right.
that's where the Super Mecha Death Christ came from. Because it's a tank tread dude.
Yes.
And he's like, just replace that with Jesus and put some guns on it and stuff. That's Super Mecha Death Christ. It's the first boss of Smash TV.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the first boss. You shoot at him, whatever, he dies, and you go on to the next level. The game gets harder gradually. There's sort of 4 stages. There's stage 1 end boss, stage 2 end boss, stage 3 end boss, which is a snake, and then you get like stage 4 is like just like a room or two, and then there's like the final boss, which I haven't even made it to.
Oh, wow.
I haven't beaten this game. As of recording this, I have not beaten the game, but maybe by the time this comes out, I'll have beaten it. I don't know. But it doesn't even matter. So the second boss in the game is this fucking insane boss, and I gotta tell you about it. So you get into the boss room of the second boss fight in the game, and it's this round head, and it's like a face.
Okay.
And he's moving around the room, and it's just the square room, you know, and you have to shoot at it and kill it, but the face is covered. It's a circle, but it's covered. The outside of it is covered by armor, like armor plating.
Yes.
And you have to shoot the armor plating off, and then shoot the face. So there's kind of like 2 things you got to do, but you got to get around this whole guy and shoot each piece of it off. And getting around him is really difficult because he moves a little faster than you do. So you have to basically fucking die a lot, and then when you come back from death, you can kind of like walk through them because they give you that like limited invincibility for like. And
you got to get to the right spot.
You got to get to the right spot, like to get down to the bottom right corner of him. It's like fucking hard because he might be like bouncing on the side of the screen and shit. So you're trying to blow all the shielding off, and the game is constantly like dropping weapons for you, and you grab the weapons, you're blowing the shielding off. But the crazy thing about it is that there is this weapon where it's a yellow thing, and it's like this gun that shoots up in the air and comes down, and it reminds me kind of like the gun you have in Ghostbusters 2 on NES with the slime thing.
Yeah.
It's like that. It goes up and it comes down. So when the dude has the shielding on him, if you get that gun, you can shoot up in the air and have the ball land down on its face, but you have to be a certain distance because it's not just like it goes like this. It's like from me to like over there. It's like there's distance.
There's some loft to it.
So you have to be like a certain distance away, have the ball go over, but he's moving around like all fucking over the place, and he moves faster than you. So you're shooting the fucking balls like all over the place, and you're trying to get them to arch over this thing and then his face gets like all fucking bloody eventually. But you have to do both pieces. You also have to get rid of the armor. So you're switching back and forth between guns to blow off the armor and this other thing that goes up in the air to hit his face. But the fact that he moves faster than you're just dying and dying and dying and dying because you can't get away.
Do you think that was a mistake? Like it
Well,
should have been.
What's funny is the NES version, which I also played for a little while, is not like that at all. So here's where it gets interesting. The NES version works the way you would want to fix it.
Right.
Like you'd look at this boss fight and you'd be like, "Oh, this sucks. Like I know how to fix it." And that's the NES version. But the NES version boss fight isn't fun to fight.
Right.
Because it's too easy. Because then you're just shooting.
Because you're just like, oh, I'm going to go over here.
I know exactly what to do. I fought that boss and I don't think I even died like on the NES version. But on the Super Nintendo version, because of the fact that he moves faster than you, it makes it way more challenging, but that makes it way more interesting.
Yeah.
So it was a case of I thought that I was like, oh, I'd fix this. And then I go back and play the version immediately after that is like what I would have done. And I was like, oh, I'm wrong. They did it the right way by making him faster because it's more of a challenge.
Do you think it's possible to kill him without dying?
I'm sure somebody's done it, but
like it's not really.
one of the things you can do, I think, is if you have the right weapons and whatever, when you're shooting at him, I think you can push him away a little bit. So if you're good enough, maybe you can keep pushing him away, but it's like madness. It's like really hard. So maybe you can do that. So the one other thing, though, that I learned, so I did this over and over, and I finally beat the fucking guy. But then that's only form 1. So all the shielding comes off and the face melts and all that, and then he turns into another face, and then basically you got to do the same thing again. But now he's more like a skull, and it's just the same thing. But this time you don't have to do the arch thing. You just sort of shoot at him until he dies. So the second form of it's not really as hard. But there's one other element to this that's that I didn't know. So the first time I beat him the harder way, which is doing what I said, where you got to arch up and hit his face and all that stuff. And then I found out the trick to it is the fucking balls that go up. You can turn and you can shoot the balls at the wall and bounce them off the wall and bounce at them. And that's doing sort of both, alternating between doing it the normal way and then also shooting off the walls. Because if you're near the wall and he's near the wall, you're not going to be able to like really hit him. So you got to like bounce at the wall to
It's
get
like
him.
a math problem.
It's happening all really fast.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just it's one of the harder boss fights that you'll encounter in video games.
Wow.
You know, because I remember the first time I beat that guy, I was like, or fought that guy. It's just like this insanely hard boss fight, and then the game kind of drops down again in difficulty if you beat it, if you get through it. So kind of what you want to do is you want to get to that boss with as many lives and as you can, and just get through them. And then if you get to the third level, then the game kind of gets easier. And then there's a snake, and I made it to the snake and like instantly died. And that's the point I'm at with it. So a very hard game. I wish that this was a game that I owned when I was, a teenager. I didn't own it. So I'm only coming into this really. I guess I did it on a video 7 years ago, but even then I only played it for probably 20 minutes or something.
Right.
Where now I'm playing for hours upon hours upon hours, and it's a great Super Nintendo game, and it makes me continually realize as I stream and as I do these videos that there's so many games left with retro games that I still haven't fully explored or come to appreciate. Like recently we did Friday the 13th.
Yes.
I didn't appreciate that game until the last couple months.
Right.
And now I appreciate that game. Now I appreciate Smash TV. And it's not that I wouldn't have before. It's just I haven't gotten to it yet,
I took one look at Friday the 13th and I said, you know what? I bet you Mike will like this game. And for many years I was like, hey man, Friday the 13th.
I just had to be in the mood.
Right? But so I'm glad that happened. And Smash TV is one of those games that was like pretty big game.
Yeah.
I think that was a big game. Like people like that. Maybe not like young kids, but I bet with like teens and adults, it was probably like a really popular game.
Yeah.
I remember playing it a lot in the arcade. I remember it getting a lot of press.
Well, people used to talk about it a lot, and it's just one that I didn't get to. And it's kind of like what happens with me when we talk about like Donkey Kong Country. I just did not own that game, or any of those games as a kid, and like I always feel like kind of like I sort of like shut up, when that game comes along, because it's like it's almost embarrassing, because it's like it's probably how some people feel if they had never seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's kind of that kind of thing. Sense. It's like imagine if you never saw any of the like Empire Strikes Back, and everybody in the room's talking about Empire Strikes Back, but you're the one person you're like, I've never seen it. That's how it feels, And
Donkey Kong Country was such a big title because it looked so good. That pre-rendered style and all of that was like so awesome for the time. games using that style came out on Game Boy. There are 3 Donkey Kong lands on Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That they could port that.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm going to talk about my game.
Yeah.
If that's okay. And I wanted to take some time because I got a Twitter question from someone. They said, it seems like the games you pick are random. So I wanted to say that they're absolutely not random, and I wanted to explain how the games get picked a little bit and how that influenced the game I chose today.
I want to chime in on that before you go.
Okay.
My games probably are a little bit random because so for me on my end, I do my streams.
Okay.
And before I stream, I say, what am I in the mood to stream right now? Let's say I was going to stream right now. I'd be like, what do I feel like playing right now? I might feel like playing, I don't know, a Mario hack or something. Let's say I'm like, oh, that's what I feel like playing right now. And then that's what I stream. So I decide right before because I want to be in the mood to play the game that I'm about to do or because I want to enjoy myself.
Right.
If I have to force myself to play a game, that's not the point for me. I want to have fun and be in the mood to do it. So that said, I play these games, and then as I'm playing, I am like, I have this idea and that idea, and then I bring the idea over to the show.
So because the thing is that for Twitch,
yeah,
It can't be like you're forced to play it. It can't be like, oh, it's on the schedule. I'm playing Donkey Kong because
I don't feel like it right now.
Even though I don't, because that's not what it is. That's not what that art form is.
Yeah, exactly.
Twitch, it's like people want to see energy, enthusiasm. They want to see you plugged in.
They want to see me care about it,
right? But then
actually, the game I want to play right now is Sharon the Wanderer. But anyway,
but that could also get you into trouble for this show because. Now it's like, okay, this is a game I like to play, but is it a game that I have something to talk about?
Which happens, and sometimes I play games on stream, and I'm like, oh, this would be good for the podcast, and then I play the game, and then afterwards I'm like, I don't have anything to say about it. Like I could tell you what the game is, be like, oh, this game you do this and this, but I don't have a good reason to talk about it.
Right.
I thought that all the stuff about the controls and all that, the fact that it's twin stick, like I felt like I had some things to say.
Right.
So anyway.
So I'm looking at it and I'm looking at Smash TV. And it's like, what is Smash TV? Smash TV from a gameplay, from a storyline perspective, it's a few things. Smash TV is a game where you move from room to room and you fight a boss. Then you go to another level and you move from room to room and you fight a boss. Smash TV is a game that represents a dystopia. It represents a 80s, 90s dystopia. It's about consumerism and consumption.
It makes me wonder, so it's a game show sort of in the future, but it makes me wonder, what is Smash TV outside of that studio?
People watch it, right? It's like gladiatorial combat, right?
Right, but is just the studio like that, or is like what goes on in the rest of that Smash TV world? It's almost like if they could make a huge game out of that, like what is the Smash TV world outside of that studio?
Yeah, no, it makes sense because it's obviously dystopian.
Yeah.
It's consumer based because they want the fabulous prizes. It is dystopian. It's like Idiocracy a little bit.
Yeah,
right. Where it's like it's like. The only thing that we can think about is like game shows, and like I think back to like Wreck-Gar, like with commercials and stuff. Like it's all very like in that moment. So I looked at it and I'm like, what game that can I play that complements that, but it's modern?
Ryan has probably the harder job of making these episodes make sense. Where he then looks at what I'm playing and tries to find something that fits in with what I'm doing. Because I don't do that with you.
Right.
You tell me, oh, I'm playing this or that, but I don't I don't base my streams on what you're playing, so you're the one that's doing that. So he's kind of doing the harder job.
So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I want to play a big indie game. And by big indie game, I want to play a game that's an indie game that has a publisher, that has a community, right? Because, I mean, this is something we want to share the show with the world. I want to find communities out there. But I want it to work with Smash TV. So I'm looking at games from Tiny Build and Devolver and Team 17 and, big indie games. And I'm going and I find this game called Despots game. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, wow. So this is a game.
What does Tiny Builds do? Because I know Devolver.
Tiny Build is most known for Hello Neighbor.
I don't know Hello Neighbor.
And Graveyard Keeper.
Is it like Mr. Rogers' game?
So Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor, I will bring that to the show. Hello Neighbor is a game where, man, I'm surprised. It's huge. Huge game. So you're in a neighborhood.
Hey, man, I'm playing like Atari.
And there's a dude, a creepy neighbor who has a house that has secrets. And you're trying to like sneak around and break into the house and complete objectives.
Okay, you played that?
Yes.
Okay.
But if he catches you, he gets smarter and finds out, your patterns and stuff, right? So if you came in the front door, maybe you're not coming in the front door again, right? And it's got a lot of personality and character. It's 3D. And it's really cool.
Okay.
So like Hello Neighbor is like a huge game.
Okay.
And
I mean, I missed a lot of I haven't played Cyberpunk.
Right.
I haven't played much of Among Us.
Yeah.
I've never played Minecraft. I've never played like Roblox.
Right.
I've never played a lot of that stuff because I'm still trying to work through the old games. Just how I just talked for 20 minutes about Smash TV and how I'm just like getting to it now. It's like, I don't know. I guess I'm the type of person that kind of likes to do things in order. Sometimes I jump ahead and I play the new stuff, but it's like, I have a hard time doing that because I'm like, but I didn't do all the Super Nintendo stuff yet.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to that.
Yeah. I mean, there's, and we've talked about it many times on the show. You're never going to get to the end.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you got to use your time wisely. I guess that's like advice for life in general. But Despots game, I look at it and I'm like, okay, top down. I'm going from room to room. It's dystopian. Little guys are fighting hordes of enemies. By the time you get to the end of a floor, there's a boss that's big at the end.
Yeah.
Right? But the two games couldn't be, despite how similar they are when you talk about them, they couldn't be more different.
Because isn't this game a roguelike?
It's a roguelike.
Smash TV is not a roguelike.
It's stats-based. You don't control the characters that are in the game.
Right.
Right? So basically you have a collection of newbies, they call them, which are humans who have been enslaved by a super AI. And the super AI comes from the last game in the series, which is called Despotism 3000.
Okay.
So this company made Despotism 3000 that features these little pink humans that you have to grow food for them and have them breed.
Like
and
little muscle guys.
have them do things. Like the little muscle men or lemmings, but without the green hair and the little suits.
Yeah.
Naked lemmings.
Did you have Lemmings as a kid?
Yes.
What do you think of Lemmings?
I liked it as a kid. I haven't played it in a while.
Yeah, okay.
I watched a crazy video recently about the soundtrack of Lemmings and how it was like all ripped off. And then they had to remake it. Like they had to remake it so they in like a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So they used all public domain music.
Yeah.
All just like old folk songs and classical music and stuff that they re-synthesized.
I found out recently there was a PC, probably in the 90s or early 2000s. There was a Christmas version of Lemmings, and people are like, "Play Christmas Lemmings, play Christmas
Lemmings, Electronics Boutique." So, I had Christmas Lemmings. it's funny we're talking about this. So I had Christmas Lemmings. It was a electronics boutique.
By the way, I'd like to say to everybody right now, it is that time of year, and Merry Christmas to all, and to all. Good night. Sorry, and then we ended there. No. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So Christmas Lemmings came on 3.5 floppy disk. It was at electronics boutique. It came in like a white, like you had to rip the cardboard, like it's like a mailer. It was in.
Oh, one of those. Okay.
Yeah. And, it was like perforated.
Yeah.
And I got that game like as a stocking stuffer.
Yeah.
For Christmas.
Yeah.
And dude, as a stocking stuffer, as like a game that's at the checkout.
Now a game.
It's awesome.
Now you have kids.
Yeah.
And these days, if one of your kids got a physical game in their stocking, would they know what to do with it?
Yes.
They would. But they're your kids. Do you think kids in general know?
Yeah, I think so. Because, like, you go to Walmart, there's a big row of
So we're still not out of the time where kids know what physical is. But I feel like we're getting there, though.
Yeah,
maybe in 8 years from now, maybe kids might not know.
So, funny story about what kids don't know.
Yeah.
I am in a store buying Christmas gifts, and the desk phone rings. And my youngest son is like, "What's that?"
Oh, wow.
Right? What is that? Right? Because your phone doesn't ring. It's a ringtone.
Oh, it's because it's different. Right. Yeah.
Your phone doesn't ring. And me and my wife, everything's on vibrate. Like, we don't want a kid that's asleep
I bet
to
they don't
wake
know
up.
landlines either.
No. And he's like, "What's that?" Right? And I'm like,
Did your heart stop?
Yeah. I'm like, "Oh my God. That's crazy."
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. No, he didn't know what a phone was. And I'm like, I'd like take him aside and be like, "Okay, we're going to talk about this." It's like, it's like a big talk. It's like, there's like the sex talk.
There's what's a telephone
We had a telephone talk, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like.
But Christmas Lemmings
is very similar. It's more levels. It's different. And the difference is they all have little Christmas hats on. And the music is like Christmas music instead of regular music. Yeah. And it's snowing.
So, okay. Sorry. Now, let's get back to your game.
Yes, Despot's game. So I picked Despot's game because it's basically the same premise updated for the modern era, but it's a roguelike strategy, stats-based game rather than a Twitch shooter game.
Yeah. A Twitch shooter game.
Like where you have to have like reflexes. And,
okay.
Like a top down. Like,
I thought you meant like.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's not purple.
Hey man, I bleed purple. I was hoping you would say "fuck you" right there. No. Hey Mike, fuck you.
Hey Mike, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Don't do that.
That's the response.
Yeah, right. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, this game perfectly mirrors Smash TV and represents the differences in the culture, in gaming, in everything. Because in as many ways as the games are the same, they're different, right? Smash TV represents a dystopia based on consumption and media and television. Despot's game is more like represents a nihilist dystopia where the AI took over, where it's casual disregard for life is like cold and not broadcasted. This is the difference between having your dystopian killing in a bright lit studio and in a dark faceless dungeon. Right? It's the same themes, but explored through very different lenses. In here, the humans are trying to be commercial heroes to rack up the money
and prizes.
Money and prizes and
so
glory.
That the audience thinks of them as like, I guess it's like when you watch American Gladiators and you're like, oh, that's cool. That guy did that. That guy made it through that obstacle. That's different than These people trying to survive.
In Despot's game, the only goal is survival. And everyone playing the game realizes that survival is hopeless.
Because even if you survive,
you're not.
You're still living in this society.
You're still the AI controls the Despot controls everything.
Yeah.
There is no you're fighting because you're fighting for your life, but your life is already lost. Right? And this is more like modern. Like, you even look at the colors. Instead of having those bright lights and the reds and the
like the 90s,
all of that. There's not even blood in this game, really.
Right.
It's more like the magenta of Squid Game. Like, you could definitely tell that the influences of television and things like that are really in there.
So it's of its era.
It's of its era. And to me, I'm like, wow, it couldn't fit any more. So the game is based on building a group of your newbies, of your humans. Humans can get mutations that give them more health and mana and armor. And
so there's like wizards.
They're like your characters, the way that you
like, what are each of the guys like?
The way that you classify your characters is you go to shops and there are weapons, and the weapons determine the class, and the weapons are built in categories.
So you walk up to the sword, you give the guy the sword, and he's the barbarian.
He's a fencer.
Fencer.
Yes, you get him a gun or a crossbow. He is a shooter. They get rings or a hat and a rabbit. Now they're mages.
Sure.
And it's fantastical. Like, there's guys who throw footballs who are throwers, and people who fight with pretzels, and people who fight with Kylo Ren lightsabers, and they fight with the sword and the stone Excalibur, but they still have the stone with them.
Okay, so you have all these different people, and they get all these different abilities and classes, I guess, you say. And then all your different classes go, and then you go into the room, and then what?
And then you arrange your people on the grid, and then you click fight, and the fight happens.
And you watch it happen.
You watch it happen.
You think I would like that?
Yes.
Because the challenge in this game is not your reflexes. What's the challenge in this game?
The challenge in this game is you have a food supply.
Is it
Every
it's
time
the strategy.
The strategy. You have a food supply. Every time you move from room to room, you burn food based on how many people you have. So now it's like, okay, so now I can't just have all the people. Now I got to have just the powerful people. When you get characters of different classes, if you stack on a class, like, you might have to have 3 shooters, you get a bonus. Oh, now I have 4 mages, I have a bonus. You want to stack on classes so that they all get bonuses, but you want to pick the weapons that have the highest rarity and the best traits for your money. So there's this economic game because you have a limited amount of coins and everything costs coins. And then there's also an element of random chance because there are events that occur in the dungeon. And based on how you answer the questions, and they're really well-written events, based on how you answer the questions in the dungeon may determine whether one of your characters dies or you get a character for free.
You can have one guy die off, not like all of them?
Yes.
Is it like if they all die, then that's when you start over? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
This game is a roguelike, not a roguelite, because nothing is won from game to game.
You don't keep anything.
You don't keep anything. And the only thing that you can unlock so far for me, maybe there's other things. I've played the game about 7 hours. The only thing that you can unlock is new starting team compositions. Like, oh, these are all sports guys. These are all sword guys. These are like your 3 or 4 people you start with. You could get like slightly different groupings.
Is there a, what's the word for it? A stigma, perhaps against roguelites compared to roguelikes?
I think that there is a elitist element.
That's a better way to say it. Thank you.
Yes. There is an element of people that like brutally hard games. They play almost exclusively roguelikes or even specific roguelikes, and they look at the people who want an easier experience as like they're peasants.
Yeah.
right?
It's like you're lesser if you don't.
And I don't think that, and I don't think that's fair. Like, if you can play one of these brutal roguelikes and do really well, that is an amazing gaming feat. And I applaud you. But here's what I can tell you about that in practice. In practice, I believe that those people aren't winning every game. And you know why I believe that? Because if you watch YouTube videos for these hardcore roguelikes, it might be a 3-hour video, and the dude may win like twice. And he's one of the best people at the game.
Well, you know, there's also like, I can tell you this, and I used to do it where, you know, I would record privately me playing a game over and over and over and over and over. And guess what clip's going to be the one to go on YouTube?
The one where you like kill it.
The one where I fucking kill it.
Yeah.
So, but now, because I've been doing this YouTube shit forever. So now with Twitch, you watch me do all, and I didn't know years ago that people almost would like to watch the journey of me failing and yelling and getting pissed more so than that run where I do it. You had told me that you watched me in my good run of Ninja Gaiden 3.
Yeah.
Where I no death and all that. Yeah. But before that, there was 1,000 attempts where I didn't make it. But those attempts where I don't do it is the struggle to get there. And the struggle to get there often for my people watching live, which is why I think watching live is more interesting than watching a video. If you watch it live, you don't know what's going to happen. When I upload that video to YouTube, you're damn well sure it's an upload most likely where I beat the fucking game. But when you're watching, because I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
If I upload 37 different runs of me failing, and then finally by the 38th time, it's the run where I beat it. People are so tired of me playing that game, they're not going to watch the run where I finally beat it. And I want them to see the good run where I beat it. So I upload that.
Yeah.
But it's probably better to watch me live because you don't know what's going to happen. It's like watching, I guess, a sports event live. You're watching this person do this, or not just me, but any streamer. It's more interesting. And you're watching it live and you're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen as the streamer. That's why it's exciting. That's why streaming is a good medium.
YouTube is like the Sports Center highlights, right? Versus Twitch, you're getting the...
It's like the real shit.
Yeah.
Or, that said though, you can also stream on YouTube. It's just that I stream on Twitch.
Right.
So... what I'm saying, it's not Twitch versus YouTube argument.
No, I meant
it's streaming versus like solid state video.
It's video on demand versus live streaming.
Thank you.
Yes.
The second time Ryan has helped me get through this.
We're getting through it.
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite type of videos to watch recently is like there's people doing histories of speed runs. And not just of an individual speed run, but the history of the speed running community. And I
don't know anything about that.
And I think there's a lot. I watched a video recently. I forget who made it, and I'm sorry, but they did the history of the Hobbit speed running. So the Hobbit,
like the GameCube game.
Yes, right. And the first guy who decided that speedrunning The Hobbit was worth his time.
Isn't it funny that I laugh at that, but then I play Dragon's Lair and stuff like that? It's just funny to me because it's the Hobbit and it's on GameCube, and you think like, isn't that kind of a funny game to even be playing in the first place? But I've been through that experience where it's like you play this stupid game, but then when you're actually playing it, you get into it.
Yeah, So the first speed run of The Hobbit was like 3 hours. Okay. 3 hours.
Okay.
That's a long speed run.
Right.
What do you think it's at now?
I have no idea.
It's like 3 minutes, 2 minutes.
It's like, it's like Link to the Past. Like somebody, depends what your definition of speedrun is, but somebody's beating it now. There's like this thing.
We're talking like any percent.
There's like this thing that you can do with the controller to where it's like you can just go to the end of the game. So people have beaten Link to the Past in 5 minutes and stuff, which isn't But that's not really, you're not playing through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I guess that's the difference between like an any percent run or 100% run, or like on a game like Link to the Past, you really have to start getting into like, what is it we're measuring?
Yeah.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Right. But the Hobbit speedrunning thing was amazing to me, because it's like the amount of different types of people it took to go from
To get to there.
3 hours to 3 minutes. It wasn't just one person. It was a community of people, and it became social. And I think that that's really amazing, and that's really what you want. I started looking at Despot's game, and I'm like, okay, well, how do I do this, right? Because I played it for several hours, and I felt like I was getting to like the 4th floor or the 5th floor. I'm like, how many floors are there? Because this is hard.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I get to the 5th floor, I'm just like dying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, am I picking the wrong build, right? So Despot's game kind of presents itself as a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And as I watched other people play it, because after I played for my 4 hours, I watched other people play it. What was interesting is, it's a popular game. A lot of people are playing it, but nobody really seemed to have any answers. So Despot's game right now is an open question, right? People haven't really found.
It's not at the point where the Hobbit's at now, where they kind of figured it out.
Right. So, anybody who plays this game could be the one to blow it open and be like, this is the build. You go mages, you go healers, you go tanks. What do you go?
I think Final Fantasy V, because that's a much older game.
Yeah.
I saw that when I was playing through that. I saw some YouTube videos, and I saw some different things, and that's also a game where people like have very specific, like, they know the exact. You're like, you have to be the freelancer, and you have to be this guy, or it's like, or it sucks,
Yeah. Well, it's like the same thing. Like Final Fantasy VI is Final Fantasy IV. Like, there are ways in terms of stat progression and stuff to just break those games open. Right. This game, that hasn't happened, but you start looking at the choices you have to make from your mutations. Do I put money into mutations? Do I put money into weapons, upgrades, food? What classes do I want? What's my makeup? It's like, this game has like 3 controls. You click on people, you click on shops, you arrange people, and you click go. That's it.
I'm waiting for somebody to break open The Wizard of Oz on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And just dominate it.
Well,
dominate that game.
What I want them to do is I want them to get every copy of The Wizard of Oz on Super Nintendo.
It's like a Shaq
and actually break it open and put it out of its misery, right? Mm-hmm. Because like, some games shouldn't have been made. And fucking platforming with Dorothy with her little fucking star. Fuck.
She goes through the leaves.
Yeah.
You jump on the fucking leaf.
Right.
It's like a beanstalk.
Yeah.
And it's like a leaf. And she jumps on it. But then she goes through it.
Yeah. Nintendo has some bad platformers, but Super Nintendo has some bad platformers too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and what sucks about it? Like, Nintendo, you look at it, and if it's bad, there's probably like more than one thing that's bad about it. Like the graphics, the sound is repetitive. It's not like baked. Mm-hmm. Super Nintendo, they could deliver you this fucking beautiful package,
but it might still be broken.
But it still could be a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe.
Yeah. Right? So Despot's game, do I think it's a good game? It's okay. Okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I liked all the things around it.
Yeah.
Like the story and this.
You're not playing it tomorrow.
I'm not playing it tomorrow. I'm not. It's neat. It's a cool diversion. It's very challenging. Mm-hmm. It's very stylish.
Would you rather play Smash TV?
Yes.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
Now hearing more of it. When I saw you playing it earlier, I was like, maybe I'd play it. But now hearing more, I'm like,
to me, Despot's game is another way at looking at the formula of like Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
Where at the end of the day, you're just like messing with stats. It's a spreadsheet game with a veneer on it. And for some people, they really want that.
Right.
For me, I want that sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'll never play it again, but it definitely made me feel bad. Right?
Wait, what made you feel bad?
It's brutally hard and it's brutally depressing. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's cool, but it's
So today we have a recommend and a not recommend.
yes. That's
Okay.
fair to say.
Let's do Siskel and Ebert. Smash TV.
Recommend Despots game. I don't know. I'm neutral. I
Okay.
can't.
You're not gonna-
I can't.
Didn't they
go-
also do like a sideways?
Like,
You're gonna do a sideways?
No, that's like Caesar. Do we kill him? Yeah. What are we doing? Right?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's not that expensive. If you're playing Despots game, like make sure you really like stats.
It's got to be the type of game for you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not
For the type of person that if you love Darkest Dungeon, if you love stats, if you love roguelikes, you could do worse.
Okay. Fair.
If you want it to be like you have progress, you're not progressing.
But if you want big money, big prizes, then you want to play Smash TV.
Yeah.
See, if I know there's going to be somebody in the YouTube comments because the video Smash TV. You know, somebody's that's gonna be the
money,
top comment
big
on this video.
prizes.
Big money, big prizes.
it scrolls across.
There's no way.
And if you like talk about games, make sure to like and subscribe. We put these out every Friday. We also put out a Patreon exclusive episode each week.
What's the Patreon? How do they get to it?
Oh my God. The link is in the description below.
Is it on the internet
Yes.
or is it on television?
It is on the internet.
Can you talk about games on television?
Yes, well, on the YouTube app. On your Samsung or Vizio television, you could talk about games on
I don't
television.
have a Vizio television.
What kind? Do you have a Samsung television? Do you have an LG television?
I don't have television. I have a television.
Okay, well,
I
what
don't have
brand?
television.
What brand is the television?
I think it's Samsung.
Samsung.
It's that one
okay.
that you and I bought years ago at the
No shit.
4K one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have no reason.
So you have a Samsung?
Because you have like more. You have like 8K now or something, right? What do you have?
Only in my bedroom.
Right.
I have a Samsung 8K TV that I got on super clearance, and I drove to Allentown to get it.
Yeah.
Because it popped up.
Yeah.
It was like an open box, like somebody returned it. And I go to Justin. I'm like, "Yo, Justin, we're going to we got to go to Lehigh Valley Mall to get this." So we drive an hour there, an hour back, and I got a $6,000 TV for like $2,000.
What do you think of the 8K TV? Is it too much? Because the human eye, like, I feel like can only do so much.
Right.
Like, I think we're already beyond what the human eye can do. Like if I don't watch sports, but if I go to out somewhere and I see at a restaurant or something or somewhere and they have the game on and it's on this nice brand new TV and I look at that shit, it looks like above my eyeballs pay grade.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that dynamic range is so much more important. Like how light the whites are and dark the blacks are and everything in between. And refresh rate and latency and all of that.
Yeah.
Maybe
one day we'll do a whole television episode.
The first show I watched on my 8K TV was Little Fires Everywhere, where the intro of it is like fires coming down a perfectly black screen, like fire.
Yeah.
And this was the first TV I ever had that had local dimming, that had multiple light areas. So it's not just like one backlight.
See, my concern with it is, does my television have a comfy vibe to it?
Yeah.
And I feel like my television could be worse, but it doesn't feel comfy the way... Because when I'm sitting there, I'm on my couch, I'm like watching a show. I want to like veg out. I want to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I want to like just enjoy. When the light is like fucking like kind of like this, it's kind of like coming at me, and it's like this is fine for a show because this is keeping me awake. But when I'm like on the fucking couch, I'm like watching a show. I just want it to be like I'm watching a movie. I want it to be comfortable. Some of these TVs are like it's like they're piercing my fucking eyeball, and it's like I want to kind of go back to lesser quality. Almost.
So what I hate
what
I hate about my TV is it's over my fireplace.
Don't get me started on that.
That's why.
So something that really fucking bothers me is you go over somebody's house and the television. I want the television there. I want the television like there. When the television's up there and I have to do this, I'm like, okay, I'll watch the movie like this, but afterwards you're gonna pay for my chiropractor,
right? Because
you shouldn't watch television like this. If you're watching TV like this, you're an asshole.
And that's why my 8K TV is in my bedroom,
right?
Because the TV that's over my fireplace is totally unusable.
I hate that.
Right.
When I game, I'm sorry that I just said that. But that's like a term. Let me back up on that.
When I game,
oh my God, I hate myself now.
When I'm a gamer,
when I play, Super Nintendo or games on my television for the streams, the TV is about that far away. It's much bigger than this thing, and it's like it's there. I'm far enough away that it's not like up in my face where it's like, your parents say, like, don't fucking get too close to the TV screen or whatever. Right. It's far enough away, but it's right there. It's not this shit where it's above the fireplace and you're like that. I hate that so much.
Yes.
I hate it. It's one of my I want to do a pet peeve video one day. Yeah. And that will be one of them.
Absolutely.
Might even be the top pet peeve.
Yeah. No, I never watch it. I can't do it.
But the problem is you'd probably have to remove your fireplace to fix it.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Like you have to fix the room.
Yeah. It'd be really weird.
So you know what I would do?
Yeah.
You have the fireplace, and I'm sorry this is going on forever, but I would have a table in the corner.
Yeah.
And I would move the TV down, like lower.
You know what I do?
Is that possible?
You know what I do? I have like surround sound built into the ceiling. Like it's amazing. Yeah. That room is amazing.
Yeah.
I literally sit on the couch next to the turned off TV with my fucking iPad and watch a movie.
Because it's in a more comfortable position. And
yes.
that means that your TV is in the wrong spot. You should move the TV to a place somehow that it's where you'd actually use it.
Yeah. Now, in that room over there, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that works good.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
When I watch shows for like Hack the Movies or anything we're doing.
You'd rather come here and watch a movie.
I come here and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say probably try to find a way to move the TV.
Yeah. But then that'll ruin the aesthetics, understand? That's the problem. Well,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about games.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. That's this episode. Check out the Patreon, and I'll see you on stream. Have a Merry Christmas. It's probably after that by this point, so I hope you had a good Christmas.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I have so many things I want to talk about. I'm like going to get off track here.
This is the case of a game that was far more popular in Japan than it was in the United States.
They never went to Mordor. What are you talking about?
This is kind of weird.
But there's real detail. There's like wiring underneath.
They're one and done. That's it. Sold out. So they're super hard to come by.
You heard him, guys. Bring it back. Here we go again. Round two.